Good evening and welcome to Savage Universe. I am JM and I am here with Brandon of Star Anvil Studios, who is currently running a Savage Worlds Kickstarter for the Savage Secret World North America, all about the Illuminati in North America and all of the cryptids and urban fantasy that you could ever want in a Savage Worlds game. Brandon, welcome back to the show.
Helps if I turn on the mic, thanks.
So tell us about the Savage Secret World. I'm putting the Kickstarter link right here. You're at 36,000 right now. And yeah, tell us about the Kickstarter.
Oh, I have to talk about it.
That's right. That's why I had you on here. It's not not just for your beautiful face.
My stunning good looks, yeah. So we did the original Secret World, which is sort of generally covered several factions and the world, the setup, the story, the background. And now with the Secret World North America, pretty obvious in the title, we're focusing on the continent of North America, from Canada down to Mexico, and we're various cities, cryptids, and also primarily focusing on the faction of the Illuminati, because that's who's the most prominent or the most in control of North America in the mythos as it's made up.
Yeah.
And well, thanks for waking up at 3 a.m.
I know. Glad to be there for you. And hello to both Alan and Tink. Good to see you both.
Hey, throw me the link and I'll share it to my people too while we're talking.
Oh, I can do that.
So yeah, and so what we're trying to do is kind of drill down and give more focus on the Illuminati, some new factions like the Boston Witches. That's going to be a new archetype, or it's also a faction. It's like a little bit of both in that one. And I'm actually kind of got Daryl, if he can get it done, we might actually offer a preview of the Boston Witches soon. We might get that up on. We'll see if we can get it done and get it up on Drive Through RPG.
Awesome.
But as a whole, yeah, it's just a broad. It's just It's a little more kind of like how Rifts does their world books, they have different sections and focus on that stuff, or like Deadlands is doing with certain parts of the the West and so on. It's
Hell on the High Plains, like the regional splat book.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Now you got Daryl working with you. I've gotten to see some things. The art looks great. We've got new archetypes. We've got new cryptids. But so what is, in your opinion, kind of the coolest part, like the hot spot in North America? Like if somebody were to back this would be where they would really be focused at.
I mean, I don't think there's any one. Rather, I don't think that's really the way I would look at it. I mean, I think there'll be spots people might be more interested in themselves. We've talked about, this is not on the official list yet. We've talked about, like, say, how does Area 51 play into something like this?
Awesome.
Because,
yeah,
but again, that's not on the official list yet. We'll see what's room in the book. But we've got Mexico City. There could be, a lot of times when people think North America, as Americans, we tend to focus on America.
Right.
So we're trying to, we got some cities up in Canada and Mexico, and I think it's like maybe 2 in Canada and possibly 2 in Mexico. Most of them are in America because more familiarity, and more stuff we really want to, knew we wanted to work with, but we're trying to spread it out. And really, I mean, who knows? We could, oh wow, we figured out something cool we want to do in Anchorage, Alaska. I mean, it doesn't mean we will, but I mean, we're really looking at, like, we have a list of 7 cities we're working from right now.
Very cool.
And depending on how big those entries really end up looking each, we may say, hey, we've got room for a couple more cities. Let's add these as well. Or it doesn't have to be a city. Most of them are, because we feel like people can kind of gravitate towards those places. But things like Area 51 or I think we have Mount Shasta is officially on the list.
Awesome.
My wife has a lot of fascination with some mythos around that, so that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, had to tap the resource that
Well, she's pretty good with the lore as far as she's played the game multiple times to level 50, which is capped for the characters,
right,
in all 3 factions, and she just generally explores. Like she the wonderful thing she did for me is she took a monster list of like 50 monsters and gave me like, here's where they're at. Here's about 3 paragraphs about them. Here's art examples of them. She's assembled that for me so I can go through. I want these.
So you got she did all of your lore research for you on the threats and the cryptids. That's awesome. That's fantastic. All right. So, but it's also the book for the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
For people who may not be familiar with the Secret World, what's the Illuminati faction really like?
I can't tell you. I'll have to kill you. You know how that goes.
Well, this is the part of the show where we stare awkwardly in silence for the next 10 minutes. And
the Illuminati are, I mean, there's lots of, the thing you have to remember with the Secret World is the factions have these names that we're familiar with, at least for the Illuminati, the Templar, the Dragons, not really particularly a specific faction people would have heard of with, conspiracy theories and stuff. But the Illuminati are more of the, their tagline is sex, drugs, and Rockefeller. They're very much about power and control. I mean, all the factions are to some degree, but the Illuminati are kind of about power for the sake of power in a lot of ways, and what they need to do to maintain and have that control, as opposed to the Templar who do it because they think they're bringing order to the world. They're doing it for the right reasons, even if they're also about power. But
right.
So that's kind of the Illuminati's focus, and if that's an interest for a type of way to play your character, or as an antagonist you want in your game, that it's interesting to delve into them more.
Right. Now, you said we're getting more on the Boston Witches as a faction?
Yeah. How big, again, the exact size of that, but I want it to be you want enough information that you can use them as both an antagonist and a basis for the players to build a character out. Because what we're doing with these new archetypes is expanding out of the bees, as in buzzing bee. In the Secret World, if you don't know, bee is a person with granted superpowers, basically.
Right. Gaia has empowered them to be users of magic.
Right, and they do it in a certain way. They're able to access it versus like other people practice magic might have to spend years to learn what you're just born with.
Right.
Or you weren't born with it. You've been granted, I should say. They're not born with it. And so what's interesting about the witches, the mystic, and or even the Illuminati operative, these are the 3 new ones, they're human. Where bees are immortal. If you kill them, they will come back.
Right. That was one of the real interesting mechanics you put together in the original Secret World rulebook.
Yeah.
The fact that, right, the conceit in the MMO is every time you die, you're just reborn because you're a bee. You actually built that to the setting rules of the game. Now you're saying these are humans, so they don't have that regenerative.
They can die. I mean, maybe you find it's the Secret World. There could be a magic item that makes an exception to that one time, or some kind of luck thing or whatever. You got bennies, right. But I mean, in reality, in the nature of the game, these people are not immortal. Maybe a witch figures out a thing that lets her or him live longer, but or more. They have powers to some degree, but they are not. They're going to be afraid of bullets. They're going to be afraid of this the end of their life. So when people want to play the game in a little bit more gritty for Savage Worlds, I mean, it's pulpy action. Depending on how you play it, could be still.
Right.
But compared to people who are mortal, who are like, oh, I'll just throw myself off the cliff and come walk out on the other side when I get down there. I mean, players tend to, metagame that where nobody will really want to go through that pain. But, it'll add a different way to play the game. I think will be interesting.
Well, I put the link in the chat again. That is the link to go back Secret World North America. I'm excited about this. I got to write an adventure for the first Kickstarter. I got to write Contagion, which was a lot of fun to write.
And it was fun to run too.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. No, was not fishing for a compliment, but I will always catch one if they are lobbed my way. So yeah, one of the things that I love about Star Anvil Studios is the art that you put together for
everything,
these projects, for everything. What is your favorite thing that you've been able to show in this book that like people may not have seen before, or that you were able to put together Hey, Tracy, good to see you.
I mean, oh, the great one. Hello, Tracy. No, so in this book so far, we've only done a little bit of the art because we want to, you know, some people have a ton of money coming can spend way ahead on the art.
Yeah.
Sometimes we could do it. We've done a little bit. I think I enjoyed so far making the witch just because I thought it was an interesting rolling eyes. I thought it was an interesting when you normally think of a witch, I was like, well, I don't want them to just look like typical, witch's hat or some
Right.
strange, crazy outfits. Like what would a modern witch in Boston look like? And I tried to give her the picture of someone who's powerful and in charge, and I think the look did that without necessarily making her look super threatening. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to make her mad, but you don't know that she can blast you.
Right.
And I really liked the way we did the necklace with the two little wings, because it's like, the crow is their symbol. So you got the little crow skull, the two little wings like on the lapels. I thought that was kind of a neat way to like say, hey, I'm a witch, but I'm not like, cackling and, being stereotypical.
Right. Salem.
Yeah.
1600 witch.
Right.
Very cool. Now, one of the things that was really great about the original Secret World Kickstarter and lineup were the adventures. Anything coming in the core rulebook? Anything on the stretch goal horizon?
Well, we have 3 adventures planned that are not necessarily. It's following after the events of Stoneward Bound.
Okay.
So they're not exactly. It'll be you could assume that you didn't play or you did, but it would be easy to roll in from that adventure. We want to make maybe a couple little hooks, but it's more or less going to stand alone. And then the idea is to have the 3-part adventure begin to start an arc that we want to continue with an adventure in each consecutive book afterwards. And that's kind of to explain or put together why the timeline of the RPG is slightly different than the timeline of the video game.
Now, for those of us who have played the video game, what is the change in the timeline that you guys have done?
So without the book in front of me, because I am not a major the guy,
putting you on the spot,
basic
Brandon.
thing is, there's a period of time where people's memories is real foggy about 10 years ago, essentially when the game was out and or ended. People have this, they can't remember exactly what happened. No one can. And that period of time where the events of like Kingsmouth, where the Draug were coming ashore and everything, didn't really happen the same way. The town wasn't all but destroyed. Some people are alive that wouldn't have been. So we could just kind of keep the story moving. And there's a reason why that happened that we have not told you yet. And 1 second.
No worries. So while Brandon is chatting, we're gonna next week. Oh, no worries. Go ahead.
So adventure wise, that's the 3 that we're getting that started. And we can't tell you, we're not going to tell you right now why things happen, but that's hopefully we're going to take the story and depending so long as Funcom approves each the overall story the way we want to go. But we have a pretty good idea where it's going.
Awesome. And the goal will be that will continue on through the next Secret World books.
Right. We got
building on each.
We want to do the Templar in Europe, and then we've got the Dragon in Asia, and the Orochi, and then it kind of goes back and forth. Probably Africa, and we want to end in South America for some obvious reason for people who played the game.
Right.
We'll see the exact. Again, that's kind of far away to see exactly where it's going to go yet. but long term, that's kind of the arc, and that will end the arc there, if nothing else. And we plan to keep going past that, as long as we keep renewing contracts, and so forth. But that's a pretty far. That's a long plan right there. And we'll see if we can complete all that. That will still be an amazing feat.
That will be an amazing run. And I mean, one of the things I like about this is Secret World was a very unique and well-designed game. I'm one of those people who tends to play MMOs as a single-player game, and man, did I love Secret World. Like it was just everything I love about urban fantasy. And to have you guys doing the role-playing game, it just kind of makes a lot of sense that like that's a world that really deserves an RPG. And I mean, you're pairing it with Savage Worlds, obviously, which is why I have you here. But
well, you see this side. Wait, this side here, you see it says 5e.
Yeah,
and
then you're covering up your Savage Worlds logo. There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you happen to be watching this show and you're like, "What's a Savage World?" But this sounds interesting. There's a 5e version as well.
Yeah. So it allows people to experience whichever they want to do. Yeah.
Well, cool.
There's also 12 other adventures included. 12 one-sheets. So they're not super long, but those are more like explore the world. They're not focused on North America. We'd had these done. We're going to release them one at a time. But since I hadn't gotten them done and ready to release prior to the Kickstarter, I figured, well, the backers deserve something a little extra. So we made that an option to get in there so you can have that as well. Because if you take Stoneward Bound, Contagion, the 3 adventures we're writing for the Kickstarter, plus those 12, that's a whole, for most people, that could be almost a year's worth of adventures.
Yeah, I mean, that's 17 adventures.
2 weeks.
Like,
yeah, so.
Awesome. Any insight into what might be contained in these one-sheet adventures?
No. Because I read them all over. I approved them all. Funcom approved them all. I know that I'm pretty sure there's a part where you might go to Russia. I think there might be some Loch Ness Monster type related stuff. Now,
awesome.
What it really is and what you think it is when you show up, but I'm saying these are some of the
just like high level, some tantalizing bits for the adventure.
There's quite a few ideas we ran by, so I can't be like, it's this.
Very cool. Well, you're almost 80% funded at this point, which is very exciting.
Yep.
And I know, I mean, if you followed any of the other Star Studio Kickstarters, you know there are stretch goals along the way. So if you are at all interested in Savage World, urban fantasy, cryptids, conspiracy theories, the Illuminati, this is the Kickstarter to back.
Yeah. And then if you don't have the first book, it's available now.
Right.
I mean, we did put in a package for those who want to like just catch up on everything all at once. That would be a way to do it. Let's see, Alan.
Alice wants to talk with you.
Yeah, we can talk at some point. If you want to just like, I didn't get it the first time, we put in a very reasonably priced, get all the PDFs all at once, and get caught up. So you'd have everything that almost everything. I think we did include like the audio dramas in it. I mean, they're out there, but the core materials you need to want or need to play the game.
So that includes the core book, the action deck, the threat cards, the maps, the adventures, as well as...
I don't think we put Contagion in there. Oh, no.
Right here, Brandon.
Well, I said I put in the important stuff. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But one of the things that I also really liked, if you haven't played any Star Anvil Studio Savage Worlds, you guys do a great job of coming up with setting rules that are very thematic to the setting. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about Secret World that was always interesting is that you basically got to slot 2 broad categories of power, either a weapon or multiple, 2 weapons, or magic talismans. and you created the conduit abilities in Secret World, which gives the same flexibility to Savage Worlds characters that the MMO characters had, right? Like I'm switching my shotgun to my Uzi, or to a flame based spells, and that was a set of cards.
You got elemental, chaos, and blood magic are your magic, and then you got sword, hammer. What's the third melee weapon? They say fist, but like any fist-based weapon,
unarmed combat kind of.
And you got shotgun, pistol, and assault rifle. So, and what you do, well, the way we set it up was if it's an edge to you start off with 2. Okay, when you make the character, and then you pick up an edge, you can pick up 2 more, or it might be 1 more. I have to look at my own rules again.
You're designing a lot, I understand.
But as you pick up the different conduits, when you use that, say you grab the shotgun, you focus your anima, your magic through this weapon, and it gives you a set list of powers. If you're a novice, you get these 3 abilities. If you're seasoned, you get these 3 abilities. You don't buy the abilities, you buy the weapon and get those abilities. That's how you unlock them right away. And as opposed to when you play Savage Worlds, typically you buy a set number of powers, like 2 or 3, depending on your background, and that's what you get. Whereas if you buy this weapon, you're getting all 9 abilities, just at different ranks. You have to be the rank to use it. So if you pick up, you had shotgun and pistol, now you pick up sword, and you're seasoned, you get all those abilities right away.
6 new abilities, yeah.
But only when you're utilizing the device, or in the case of an elemental magic, you got to have that item in your hand that powers it, focuses as well. So you're still locked down to 2,
right?
But
you have the option of a 3rd or a 4th, and you can make those switches on when you need to
make the switch when you want to, and change it up. But it still keeps you from being able to use all those abilities at once. So you do have to choose that and take the number of actions to change, what have you.
Now I got to ask, and the answer may be no, but obviously I'm a huge fan of this mechanic. Are there any new conduits in North America?
I was thinking strongly about doing that, and then decided that that's not a good idea. Just because it works really well as it is, and
it really does.
Well, what are we going to add to it that like, okay, I mean, I thought like, oh, it'd be cool. What about like a bow staff? And then what about what about a bow? What if they're an archer? But effectively, pistol, bow, they're very different, but mechanically in the game, it's a ranged attack.
Right. You can switch it up and reskin it. I mean, Savage Worlds trappings being what they are.
I could, but it felt like extra work that wasn't worth it for that. The bees are pretty well defined. We may go back and review and go, we need to tweak something. But overall, I think we did a really good job. So rather than trying to rewrite that, instead, we're going to work on some unique mechanics for, like, say, the witches. They're going to have some ritual magic and some regular. They're different. We have some concepts, so they'll get something new. So why keep reiterating the same thing? We can introduce a whole new thing. Make the witches interesting. And for example, the mystics are going to be different, because we don't want to just build the same thing over and over again, and we definitely want you to have a reason to play one over the other,
right?
Even if it's just because it's really much cooler to you than the other way the other one works. Because that's what flavoring and trappings, and we don't want to overdo the mechanic and make it difficult either.
Right.
It's so complex. And of course, the Illuminati operative, I mean, that's really someone who's just highly skilled in a lot of ways, and we'll probably do something similar to how we kind of did profession edges a bit for Starbreaker for the Illuminati operative. Give them a couple really cool edges that really define them. So they don't have powers, but that gives them a little bit of boost. Because everything they're fighting is going to be pretty powerful. They better be pretty good.
Right.
They're not immortal. So
when you say mystics, what's kind of the theme of the mystic archetype?
It's a mystery. We went back and forth on that one a bit. I have to check with Daryl what the final word was on that, so don't hold me to it. But it was, I think it was going to be talking with spirits and such, and that kind of thing, versus, So it's not so much about, it's not so much about out and out attack power, although we'll probably want to give some kind of more like defensive or healing or community knowledge. It's not about, we've got the operative is going to be definitely attack, or I should say the operative is not necessarily a physical attack, but the operative is more like a sneaky, stealthy spy with some stuff. And then you've got the witch, who does have that ability to project power
Right.
in different ways. And then we want the mystic to be more of that spirit, maybe healer type role, and so on. So
Awesome.
still tweaking a few things before we finally, finalize it. So,
but still, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to put the link back in the chat. And Brandon, any final things you want to say about Secret World or the Illuminati? Or
if you don't buy it, people in blue clothing will knock on your door and no.
The Pinkertons.
I think it's exciting to be able to expand a world. A lot of times, the smaller publishers, you do the one book, and maybe you get you can get we can do some adventures and so on. I really want the ability to keep building whole new books and really expanding the setting at a level that you don't usually get to do. That this is giving us that opportunity, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. Well, I am very excited. Obviously, I'm very invested, and I can't wait to see not just how Secret World does and what you unlock in North America, but also what's next for Star Anvil Studios. I always enjoy having you on here and chatting. And yeah,
I can't wait to tell you something if we finish up this next contract. What's coming next? But once that's done, we can make that announcement official. But
I'm really excited about that. I think I know what you're talking about. But
you do know what I'm talking about, because I have told you.
You have.
But you forget sometimes.
I know secrets.
Yeah. And you know enough.
I know enough. Well, so next week we're having Jeffrey Spring on, who is developing some new Foundry modules for Suede and for Savage Worlds. And then Tracy is going to be on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, about time, Tracy.
Discuss her Han cluster, which I am in the middle of running a blind playtest of, and my group loves it. I knew you would be interested in that, Cripwright. When I talked with him this morning, I was like, you will intrigue Cripwright. And yeah, we'll talk about it next week. And then don't
play in a Han cluster game. It's very nice.
Yes, Han cluster. Yeah. I also want to say, don't forget that officially in 2 days, Saturday, starts the Fast, Fun, Furious February Creator Jam. Remember, the theme this month is creatures. So if you haven't thought about it, think about it. Think about joining in the Creator Jam. We're going to have Alb on at the end of February to talk about the Creator Jam. Speaking of Cryptrite, we will be hosting the entries on Savage Universe. So I will get with you to discuss that at some point. You heard it here. I'm committing to doing it. And yeah, we'll be back next Thursday with more Savage Universe. Brandon, thank you as always for coming on and sharing your excitement and your enthusiasm for the Savage World community and for putting out just amazingly awesome Savage Worlds products.
Thanks.
Until next time, go out there and play some Savage Worlds, and may all your dice ace. See you guys later.